all of our insecurities we can make as real as we want.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're in our mind. And our mind can rabbit hole down anything. Then all of a sudden it's this real scenario that we've made that's not real. It's just a mirage. Right.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Marriage is Tougher Than Woodpecker Lips podcast. This is Bryan, joined by my co-host, Paul. We'd like to welcome you to a community meant for the men of the world to share their thoughts and perspectives on marriage. We can learn from each other's experiences and help each other be better husbands. This week on the pod, we want to talk to you about husbandly insecurities.
Before we jump all the way in there, we just want to welcome you. If this is your first time, thanks for checking us out. If you've been rocking us for a while, thanks for showing up and coming back. If you'd like to go deeper on this conversation, please search Marriage is Tougher on all your social media platforms, or go to our website, marriagestougher.com, contact form, and just fill that out for us. If you'd like to be a guest, do the same thing. Hit us on the contact form, leave us your name and your information, how we can get back to you, and what topic you'd like to talk about. We'd love to get you on the show because we're here to make a community. So please reach out to us if this impacts you in any way. Now let's get into the show.
All right. So, insecurities. This is a topic that you have to grow into, I would say. Grow into being comfortable talking about it, right? I think I've likely lived with a lot of insecurities through my life and not known they were insecurities. Yeah, for sure, right?
That's real.
And I think the one that is at top of mind for me is likely provision.
Okay, expand on that.
Sure. So I grew up in a household where we lacked, to some extent, some provision. And I think deeply ingrained in me is, man, I never want to experience that again.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Sense.
So therefore, I think I probably overchase the means for provision. Right. I am financially in a very good place right now, but I also still have that drive for, I think I need more.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that kind of brings into the conversation, how much is too much? How much is enough? And the contentment conversation. Right. But I think just being reflective on why I behave the way I behave is helpful. But I don't think that it has changed my behavior all that much. Right. Even having the conversation with Katie, she's like, at some point, we make enough. And she would prefer me to be more focused on being home with the family and just being more engaged with the family, which is something I have been working on for sure. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, I could use a little more padding.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's so deeply ingrained. I don't know that I'll be able to fully change it. I don't know that I would want to, because while albeit a small chance, there's a chance that I could backslide into a life that I've been trying to avoid. And I guess the lesser of two evils in my mind is
right. The one that
abundant.
the one that has more.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm gonna slide somewhere, let me slide there.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, we all have the stories that we came from, the things that shaped us. And that's a very important one. Our experiences are going to be either I want to experience this or I never want to experience this again. Like the things that we go through in life. And so they shape us. And I don't think you'll ever not have at least that thought in your mind. It's more, how are you going to talk yourself out of that? Or how are you going to champion those moments of like, yeah, we're good. But I mean, if you talk to any really driven million/billionaires, a lot of them will be like, yeah, it's the next is what we're always chasing. So, and not that that's good, but it just is a thing. So, knowing that is good. Was there any other a time in your marriage where you kind of projected that onto Katie as her, or you wanted to make that more important to her than she thought it should be?
Ooh, probably both. So making it more important to her than she thought it would be, I think was different a difference in perception, right? Like I am coming from a feeling of lack and she didn't grow up that way. So she's like, this is normal life. I don't understand. Right? um, and I'm like, nope, gotta chase, gotta go. Right. Um, but then I think projecting it onto her, I probably did that in a way where it looked like me needing her support to go and do the things I felt that I needed to do. And then when that didn't come in the way I thought I needed or wanted it, I think I, s- I likely had a little bit of resentment. That was, I think, until she made me realize where my time was actually best spent. And really, all that led to me doing was trying to find creative ways to do both.
Yeah, that makes sense. And as you're talking, I was just thinking about knowing that I think Crystal and I grew up similarly in a space that we knew that you're not always going to have a steady income in your house based on our experiences. Ours was on a different level. Like my family was on a different level. Hers, she was definitely more impoverished than we were in those moments. But we still had times of having to move to change jobs and like environment changing. And now looking at it, seeing how my parents reacted to certain things, it was because it was a time of high stress because of money or other things. So my idea always goes into it's going to work out because it always worked out for us.
Hmm.
Well, hers where she had a lot more dire experiences. So, and then being a single mom, like she's very driven to not have that happen. Kind of, I mean, like your situation, but she always wanted to make sure that her and Zay were always taken care of and not having to do stuff. But she also learned how to lean in community too. So, I think for me, it's not financially. For me, it was relationally my insecurities and can I have a solid conversation that means something and that I don't blow up, right? Because for a while I didn't trust myself to have self control with my anger. Um, and so I would have thoughts that I would think, or I would just have negative thoughts that I would think a conversation would go. So I would project that her thought process would be negative, even though it wasn't.
Okay.
Um, and it was a lot of her patience and her showing that that wasn't where it was going to go. That actually had me switch that up, and that was like probably as soon as or as late as like 5 years ago.
Okay.
Like it's a new based on we've been married for over 15 years. It's a newer part of me in our marriage. It was like projecting a negative outcome that had no history of that outcome happening.
Mm,
So, I mean, in essence, I guess that's a lot of that is kind of how anxiety works, right? You get anxious of something that could be without living in the moment of what actually is.
right.
And so it'd be certain situations, definitely on the money side or a big decision side. Is this gonna, you know, and maybe that comes from lack of control. Like if I don't have control, it's like, but I don't know if I'm a controlling person, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm now diving deep into my life.
Yeah. I'm thinking about some of the thoughts I've had over the years around infidelity, coming from, being a person who has been cheated on in the past. I think that for me is an underlying insecurity as well. Um, Most of that conquered by the trust I have for my wife. Um, but if I'm being honest, there are still times where that thought might creep into my head. Um, for me, it's pretty easy to beat back. It's like, yeah, that's not real, right? Like, and I think I do that with logic, right? Like, I don't want to say logically, but logistically, there's just like no way for it to happen, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
see. That makes sense.
you know what I mean? And I mean, I guess there's always a chance, right? You never know, but I think for me, just beating it back with logic has, for the most part, tamed that part of insecurity. But acknowledging that it's still there when that little bubble up happens, like, where you at? It's been a while. Where you at? Um, I don't know. It has worked for me. I don't know if that's ever been an issue for you or not.
Trying to think. I don't know if it's an infidelity, but it's more as like, and it roots in a lot of like my self worth. Like, am I good enough, and is she gonna stay?
Okay.
Right? Like that has been um. I think I struggled with that when I first met her. Like knowing how amazing she is, she's a boss, blah blah blah. It's like, will I ever measure up to what she quote unquote needs?
Hmm.
Um, and then it was like. It was a real, like you said, you just play back the truth of what is,
Right.
right? What she said, her actions, her character, um, and knowing that she said what she says, and if she says she's in it, she's going to be in it, and we're going to work through these things. So it was more, I think all those things, they kind of like, all of our insecurities, we can make as real as we want,
Yeah.
right? Because they're in our mind. And our mind can rabbit hole down anything. And then all of a sudden, it's this real scenario that we've made that's not real. It's just a mirage.
Right.
So it's just being able to, like you said, cut it with logic and be like, that's not going to make sense. Logistically, this can't make sense. I mean, it could, but no. Like, then you remember logistics and the person. And
Hmm.
you're like, we've invested. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
So that widens our conversation a little bit, which I'm actually excited about. The thought I'm having is, how often do we prop up ourselves to be this husband or this ideal of husband that we think we should be, compared to having a conversation with our wives and actually asking the question what they need from us?
that was just what I was thinking.
Yeah, I
Like,
figured.
how often it's not often enough,
Right.
I'll say, because right, the enemy of a lie is the truth. So if you have the truth and you fortify the truth with constant communication, the lie has nothing to feed on. But if you're not having conversation, you can feed the lie anything you want out of your brain. So it's like, what are we doing? Have more conversation.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And I think, oh man, for being a husband of a woman who deals quite a bit with heavy anxiety, I don't think I've thought enough about having more conversations, right? Because to your point, she builds up a lot of things in her head. And in my mind, I'm just like, that doesn't seem logical to me. I can't I can't relate or connect to how you're feeling in this moment. But now just thinking about it, having a couple extra conversations that would help her fill in the gaps rather than allowing her to just fill in all the gaps on her own with worry and, worst case scenarios. I have not done enough of that.
Yeah. I keep thinking, and I know we always use sports analogies, but if you're thinking about preparing for a sport, right, what makes you less anxious come game time is the preparation of knowing what the game plan is and not even the game plan that's specific to whatever the situation, but it's like, what do you know as a team that you stand for? And what is your bread and butter? So in essence, it's setting up your marriage. What is your marriage bread and butter? That this is who we are, no matter what the situation
Mhm.
stands for. And you go through that every week or before every game, depending on, I'm thinking football, so every week of preparation, but basketball too. It's like every day practice. We practice the same thing. Like we're a running team. We're working on getting out in the lanes, filling the lanes. It doesn't matter what the other team is doing. We're going to get our buckets in transition,
Yep.
right? Secondary break. Okay, we don't get the thing. Next thing, we're going to try to score in this many seconds. Like, and we're going to go over it. This is just what we do. Every day at practice, there are certain drills or sections that you do regardless of who you're playing, regardless of what the situation throws at you. So in life, like in our marriage, who are we as a married couple? What do we stand for? Building trust, affirming each other. Let's do this no matter what. So when those certain things come to either attack our marriage or our little struggle in our marriage, it doesn't matter. We can go back to who we are and what we do. And I think, like you said, most marriages don't do that enough. I mean, I would say we have pretty solid marriages compared to the world one. We're still married, so
Right.
we're on that side of the aisle. Um, and we still like our wives, and we're still putting in the work to be better.
Yeah.
So in that case, and we still deal with not having the conversations. So imagine just how much better it would be if we would just talk a little bit more
Yeah.
and affirm each other on what we're down for.
Yeah. And I was just before we started recording, sharing with you a little bit about what we were doing, right? We have a little trip coming up, a little weekend getaway, and just flushing out some of the details. Like the place we're staying, they looked up and specifically chose it because I glanced and saw there was a parking option. Didn't read too much into it. Well, now on the back end of it, it's valet parking at a fixed price per day. And doing a little more research shows that it might not even be available because it's a busy area, right?
Hmm.
So we might have to find some other parking arrangement. But she's like, well, at least we know about that going in and we're not going to be shocked by it,
Hmm.
right? In my mind, I'm like, to some extent, yeah, I'm just going to deal with it anyway. So, like, not that big of a deal. But from her perspective, like, she would get really upset about it. So it's easier to have the conversation and do this
Hmm.
work up front rather than, you know, me just trying to deal with it in the moment, and then she's all frustrated, and then it, like, takes away from the next couple hours because 'cause we're, like, a little combative over something so small.
Right. And that's it shows the thing, like when different people deal with different things differently, right? So things that, because my wife, she is great at, she just rises in the moment of like things happening to solve the problem, right? I am fine, like we'll just go through it, but I just want, it's just like it is what it is. It's gonna eventually work out how it's gonna work out. But she's like, all right, we're gonna figure it out, blah blah blah, get it done. Um, so she's more active in that. I'm more passive. I think we both deal with it a little differently. So I think it's good to know those things, right? Because sometimes I'll just have like, I'm in it till I'm over it, right? She's in it till it's solved, right? So I'm like,
Like,
I'm done. Like I'm whatever. Like I don't even care where we park. Like I'm dropping you guys off. I'll walk 7 blocks to find a parking spot because I'm
that part.
over it. I don't want to deal with it. When maybe 2 more minutes of looking, it's like, oh, like a half a block away, there's a place where you can park, right? So prepping helps, but I think even in life, trying to get ahead just to put things out, to see what the options were or where there may be blocks and talking through them can definitely save in my instance me being like I'm over it, being frustrated and like having to have my family deal with me being grumpy when we talked about it beforehand and now I know what's happening. Right.
Right.
That's such a good point that you make. Just prepping it, talking through it, don't have to deal with it when, problem solvers are like, all right, we'll deal with it and get it done. I'm like, yeah, it'll work out. But I might be frustrated in the moment. I know myself enough to know that.
Yeah.
So good deal.
I think I live in both worlds, right? Like, I'll get mildly frustrated in the moment, but then very quickly will have that same sort of thought, like, well, I'll just drop y'all off and like I'll handle the stress of this, right? I'll how many ever blocks, or like I'm gonna be on Google, I'll figure it out. Um, but the second piece to that is now, is she just gonna sit there and wait for me, worry about where I'm at, have to worry about checking in on her own, or, all that. So I think I need to be more mindful about having these conversations with her. Like, as much as I like to have her just come along for the ride and not have to worry, like she's still going to worry. So just have the conversation.
Yeah, just how, I mean, if we think of those conversations as a gift,
Hmm.
right? They're just a gift to our spouse, to the gift of being on the same page.
The act of service.
That part. It just is.
Yeah.
It's
I can get
good.
behind that.
Yeah. I was just like, man, all right, I can lock that in. Yeah, it's a gift to just being on the same page just helps so much in marriage. Even in the little things, the things that we were like, oh yeah, like you said, like, yeah, we'll just take it on, it's fine. But there's cause and effect in everything, right? And the opportunity cost. The opportunity cost is you're now separated for your family for however amount of time that is. And who knows what happens? Maybe there's traffic and you get there late, and now there's extra stress that you don't know. But you talked about this thing and you're prepared for this moment. So now, if there's any other random things, you can put your energy there instead of two places. It's just one.
Right.
So you prep for what you can prep for, and then you take on what pops up.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm about to live a new life.
That's it. A lot of
And
more conversations.
and we talk about it being a gift, right? It's a gift for both of us being on the same page, right? It's a lot less stressful for me to know that she's not stressed.
Yeah, that I only get stressed if she's stressed.
Facts.
Now, I'll say Crystal she does a great job of, almost to a fault, of being too good of a carrier. So I'm
Okay.
like never stressed. And then sometimes it's like, I wonder if and she'll be like, yeah, I'm over here flailing. Where were you? Like, and it's like, oh man, like you look like you were not full. You look like you're doing the backstroke. I didn't know. Um, so we've had to talk through that. And it's just, I think me gaining her trust that I will do the things that need to be done. Um, and me also asking, because she's the person, she'll just like, I'll just take care of it. Right. So it's more like, okay, what can I help do? And then actually do it. Um, and that's what I need to do. That's what I've been working on. This is the back half of our marriage. It's like, oh, like, do the things that I said. If I have an issue with it, actually communicate the issue and don't just take on something and then be grumpy about it. Or just don't do it because you don't see the value. Like, if I said I was
Exactly.
going to do it, do it. If I have an issue, let's talk about it so it can make sense. Or if it doesn't make sense and it just needs done, suck it up and do it. Right? It's those three things. But it all comes back to conversations. And if we have conversations, we're not projecting false narratives. We're not creating um, thoughts of things that could happen. We're saying, no, this is it. This is what I need. This is where we are. This is who we are. We love each other. We're doing this thing. Plain as day. We've locked it in with our words and our actions. Now let's just flesh it out.
Good. I think that's all I've got.
I think that's all I got too. I think there might be more, but my brain is saying that's it. Um, oh, my question is, I do have a question.
Okay.
So we've talked about kind of these insecurities that we've projected. Have you ever had to address vice versa, where you're like, this is not real? Like with your wife, she might be saying something or putting something on you that's not what is.
Hmm.
And how do you deal? Do you deal with it, or do you not have that memory or moment?
Um, no, I think it's come up recently in therapy. Um, and it takes some understanding and grace from my end. I mean, dealing with someone who suffers from severe anxiety, that's the world they live in, right? Like the what if. Um, and so on my side, I think talking through it and helping her to realize that, hey, I understand how you're feeling at the moment, but this isn't what's actually happening, right? And I think the way I've approached it is help me understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling. Because from my perspective, I see it as like very unlikely that this could occur, right? So what has you so worried? And I think a lot of time just starting that conversation and having her talk her way through it brings her down a little bit because one, I'm showing that I'm supportive. And then two, I think the logic tends to creep in a little bit later. Um, and then three, I think she, in that conversation, is able to redirect her mind to something more positive, right? Like but what if it's amazing, right? Um, so that's kind of where I'm living right now. But I think I also need to be a little bit more attentive to what things are affecting her and how. So I could kind of peel back those layers a little bit faster. But again, anxiety is a real thing. So I'm not claiming here that I can pull her out of everything, right? But that's what I've seen work so far.
I think that's perfect. And if we have capacity even to kind of catch ourselves as we're going down our own rabbit holes of projecting
Mhm.
and being like, wait a minute, is this real? Like, is this how could she really feel this way? Like knowing her personality and who she's shown herself to be, is this how this would happen? Like, that's such good advice to be able to have that conversation if you're dealing that with your spouse. And also, can you catch yourself and do that as you kind of go down the rabbit hole of your own thoughts? I mean, that's the playbook of kind of getting out. And granted, as you preface, like if you suffer from situational anxiety or severe anxiety, obviously that may not be something that you can do on your own. So if you're finding, therapist, counselor, medication that helps, do that because I don't want you to I don't want anyone to beat themselves up saying I can't do this.
Mhm.
Right, where you may just not physically, your brain may not have the chemicals that help you do that. Right.
Right.
But all things on the other end, I think that is a good way to kind of check yourself. If you can have that conversation of what are the facts in this and what is the history of your person, and then kind of moving forward. So I'm glad I asked that because that was great. So now I don't have anything else,
All right.
but you just said you didn't have anything, but that was pretty powerful. But hey, we appreciate you guys making it through an episode. If this impacted you anyway, please reach out. Search Your Marriage is Tougher. Hit us up in our DM or leave a comment on this video where you find it or this podcast. We appreciate you guys. If you'd like to be a guest, go to marriageisttougher.com, hit the contact form, and let us know your information, what you'd like to talk about. We'd really love to have you on. Figure out a way to make it happen. And there's nothing else. We appreciate you, and we will chat later.
Peace.